Hi there. Welcome to Bodhrán Around the Globe. Today we'll be looking at one of my favorite types of music, which is Samba Reggae, or Samba Reggae, as it's known in Salvador, Brazil. It has its origins rhythmically from West Africa and some of its rhythmic patterns and formations, but it has a certain swing to it that's very much Brazilian and also draws somewhat from, as you imagine from the name, from reggae, from the popularity in Jamaica. This form kind of took place in the 70s into the 80s and has become quite popular. Um, as I said, some of the formations, West African in nature, call and response with the singing and the drumming, the polyphony that goes on there, polyrhythms that go on there are very much from the West African tradition. There's call and response, particularly between the lead drummer, which is the hapiki, hapiniki, which is sort of a very taut, small tom drum that's played with a stick and the hand. There's the bass drums, and then there's the caixa, or the snare drums. So that even though it's marching band instrumentation, they're West African rhythms being played. And you can hear these just bouncing off the beautiful buildings in Salvador as they play in the streets. So it's a big, powerful sound. So we're going to try and apply some of these rhythms to the Bodhrán today. Obviously, I'm your instructor, Colin Hart, and we're going to dive in. Probably one of the most famous groups is Olodum from Salvador. They have an NGO music school there for students of all ages, from little kids all the way up to adults, and they have different groups. And they also have a touring performance ensemble, so you can find them in different performance areas as well. So let's dive into some of the patterns. I suppose we'll start with the bass drum. Now today I'm going to be playing with different tippers just to kind of give you an idea of different sounds to mess around with on the drum. If we just start with the basic bass drum pattern, they call it sordo. There's typically three sordos. And so they have sort of the one and second sordo is keeping time. So you have, it's nice to get those pitches. So that third part you're hearing, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, first sordo, second one, 1, 2, and you got. Now I'm using this because obviously it's like a bass drum stick or mallet for that. Gives it a nice lower tone, very resonant. If you want to kind of pull off the frame of your body there, I like to use the heel of my palm to get the second hit. Find where it's resonant, open, and then for that third sordo, or the higher pitched one, I kind of just place my thumb against there. So you got 1, so you can mess around with that. You can also reverse it where you're going high, so you have that as well. You can mess around with those patterns, but I think it's nice to just kind of think about that in terms of bass line. Now on top of that, you have the hapiki. Now the hapiki, like I said, is tight. It typically has an interesting kind of high-end sound because it's so taut. And so you'll hear, if we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, you have. I'm just doing that just into it, and I have a 3-pronged stick. You'll see this a lot, particularly plastic ones being played on the snare. The hapiki, not necessarily so, but you can mess around with your tippers to kind of get that sound of that rim shot. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you got that bop, 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 bop. If you recognize that pattern, if you saw the other lesson about bossa nova, even though it's not quite as driving, it's a bit more laid back in the beat because of the jazz influence, but it's still bop, 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 bop. So that classic 3 against 2 is going on in the first part. And the second one, that first of the 3 grouping there, is not there, meaning if you're hearing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, well, that second group of 3, that first beat is not there, meaning 1, 2, 3, nothing, nothing, okay? So that's how that works there. Now you could fill that in. So you could do and if you want to even do to get that where you're really putting the hand way up there, so you're doing where you could mute the other one, so hit, 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 hit. So you got bop it da da da. So you're just pressurizing that where you're doing those emphasized hits, meaning the bum 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 bum. And when you're not, I like to just kind of mute a bit, so it's just not quite as it's a bit deader. So bop it bop it bop it bop bop. If that works for you, great. You can try something. You could try filling in the bop it bop it bop it. You could also do that if, depending on the tempo and how comfortable you are with doing those single strokes. There's also going on there, depending on the pattern, obviously, but that classic. So this is going with that bass drum. Boom, 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 boom. I like to brush on that because it's nice just... Now that works great. You can use that if you want to use a different stick to kind of... or a little bit more attack there. So you could add a bass note there as I'm taking off on the fourth there. You can switch the sticks up as well. Like I said, this is fun to experiment with. I have one of these as well, and it has, has a real sense of swing there. Another sticking pattern that's kind of fun to try that out with, particularly with the brush, is instead of doing right, left, just boom, boom, check it, boom, 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 right? You can do up, down, down, boom, boom, bop, bop, boom, boom, bop, bop, boom, boom, bop, bop, boom, boom. You can try it the other way. I find that coming down the two downstrokes on the second beat helps a little bit there. So you got bop, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, bop. So those are just some ideas from Samba Reggae or Samba Reggae, as it's known. Check out the recordings, but just some fun stuff to try out on the Bodhrán, different sticking patterns, ways of sort of articulating these sounds. If you're enjoying these lessons, or just hopefully they're just giving you some ideas, right? We're taking things and kind of transplanting them onto this drum and seeing what works and what you can pull off, and maybe what gives you a bit of creativity with this thing. My Bodhrán book just came out, so you can see that there. It's called the Bodhrán, Experimentation, Innovation, and the Traditional Irish Frame Drum. It has a list of great recordings, performers, makers, the history, the whole 9 yards. So take a chance on it and check it out. You can get that through the University of Tennessee Press. And I have another article about Seamus O'Kane, the great Bodhrán maker and player. You can find it at the Musicology Forum there. You can see 28.2 is the issue. If you're into Brazilian music, as obviously I am, also have an article coming out with the Journal of World Popular Music, which is looking at the teaching of samba and choro in Rio de Janeiro, which was part of my dissertation fieldwork. So you can read about that if you're into this sort of thing. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the Bodhrán, but if you're interested in just learning about Brazilian rhythms and how they're taught, I think it might be of interest to you. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it, and hope to see you at the next lesson. Cheers.